Even if you disagree with me about the importance of manual bids in an ad account, and I think you're wrong if you disagree with me, you probably know that creative volume is one of the keys to Facebook ad success. This has been the case for like a bunch of years. I remember hearing this when I was at Common Thread Collective, like fairly early on there, probably 7 years ago or something. We were seeing Facebook reps come and say that people who make more ads make more money. And so what you need to understand is how to make more ads. So I've actually created a methodology at this point for creating more ads. And that's what I'm going to show you right now with my team, what we are doing to go from ad idea down through the actual creation of the ads. I'm going to walk you through all of it right now. It's going to be fairly clear to you, okay? But I'm going to explain it piece by piece. And I think we can do this fairly fast in a way that's intuitive to you and makes sense. It all starts with the concept of an angle, an ad angle. Once you have a lot of the hard work of advertising is developing an ad angle. So I'm going to get to the meat and to the practical stuff of how to actually turn your idea into a lot more ads, like from one idea to like 500 ads really fast. Okay. But, this is not going to be helpful to you if your idea is bad. And so we need to stop for 1 second and just rehash this notion that an ad angle is crucial to get right. Now, I'm not going to go back all the way through it. I just did an episode. It is linked in the show notes, and it is linked in a document that I'm about to show you, where you can go and listen to me talk through how I'm thinking about the notion of an ad angle now. But you need to understand that, because for your ad to work, for your ads to be effective, they need to resonate deeply with the actual felt experiences and behaviors and desires of a customer. And so I walked through exactly how to think about that in a recent episode. You should also be subscribing, by the way, because I'm adding to this process all the time, and you're going to want to not miss out. There's a lot of good details about how to do this, and I'm going to keep breaking this down because this is the number one thing I'm thinking about. So make sure wherever you're watching or listening, you subscribe. Okay. So, all right. So you've got an ad angle in mind, and you've done the hard work of thinking through how your product, the benefits of your product, meets a customer's desires and their behaviors in a way that makes sense with them. Once you have that idea in mind, okay, what you should not do is make one ad that attempts to articulate that. That is the mistake. What you should do instead is give yourself the best chance for success by taking the hard work you put in to understanding and knowing and thinking about your customer and driving it down through multiple formats that will speak to multiple customers in multiple ways, and do it all at once. Because if you do that, you will save yourself a bunch of time and energy in the process of creating these ads. If you just try and scattershot an ad here and an ad there and an ad here and an ad there, you will forever be inefficient in doing this. But the starting point for a smooth operational process that generates a bunch of ads at scale starts with your core idea around your ad angle, and then pushes that ad angle through a bunch of different formats all at once. And like I said, this is where we are putting everything about the build of my team through the operational process for my clients to try to do this at real scale. And we're getting better at it all the time. I recorded an episode recently where I told you that we had made 3,400 or 3,500 or so meta ads in 1 month for 5 clients. So I think we're going to increase that and increase the hit rate by doing this. Okay. Because this is the thing we're rolling out now across the board. Okay. So the key idea here is that you start by taking your ad angle and turning it into the longest form version of your ad first, okay? Because that will help you to flesh out language for your ad angle. And there's a lot of ways you could think about doing this kind of thing, but you've probably heard me say that I'm a big fan of the long form explainer ad, and I still am. I still think it's a really good idea, okay? So in this process, what I want you to think about doing is to start from the long form explainer ad, writing a detailed long form explainer. And then from there, the explainer then becomes a bunch of other kinds of ads from there. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about what that explainer is. Okay. All right. And to do that, I'm going to share my screen now and start to walk you through a document. Now, here's the thing. I whipped up this Google Doc really fast, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to include this. There's going to be a link in the show notes in this episode so that you can go and get all of this document with all of the links and all of those things by like really, really easily, okay? Because I want you to have this. It's going to have links out to a bunch of resources, as many example ads as I can give for these formats. I have to get clearance on every one of those from clients, but my clients are gracious and kind people, so they will give them to you. So we'll have example ads for all these formats, and I think this will help you a lot. So let me show you what the document is first, okay? All right, so here you go. So this is the starting point of this ad. Okay, so you start with the long form explainer. So you've got your angle, okay, and let's just make an angle right now so we can do this all the way through. Okay, the angle is going to be for a supplement company. It's going to be let's go a skincare company. Okay, because I've talked about Bamboo Earth before. Okay, so a skincare company. The skincare company, the angle is going to be for a woman with dry skin. The benefit of this moisturizer is that it's specifically tailored for a woman who has dry skin. Okay, so the moisturizer specifically tailored for women with dry skin, and we'll say it has some ingredient or something like that does that. Okay, so I'm completely making this up, but it's going to be specifically for a person. Actually, let's change that. Let's go for a person with oily skin. Okay, it's a moisturizer for a woman with oily skin. All right, and I'll even use some old Bamboo Earth talking points here to make this point. Okay, so this is the basic idea. It's a moisturizer for a woman with oily skin. And so here's how I would turn that concept, that angle, we'll say, into an ad. And now that may seem vague as an angle, but don't worry about it. Like for now, and we could fill that out a bunch of different ways. Again, in my angle episode, I talked through some of those things. You might think about a 35 to 44-year-old woman with oily skin. You might think about why she has oily skin, if there's some specific ways. You might think about any other distinctions about the product, like the application process. Maybe you have to apply it less often than other products or something like that, right? There could be all kinds of details that you could use to fill out those kinds of things. But let's just start with that basic concept, okay? So the long form explainer is the place you start. And I would break down the long form explainer into 4 parts. So I have done a full episode about this. This is also linked out. This will be linked out in the publicly available version of this document, so you can get it, okay? Where I walk through a whole long form explainer process. And those 4 parts are hook, body, validation and guarantee, offer, and CTA. I want to run through those fast so you know I'm thinking about this, okay? So write multiple hooks for this ad. So I would say between 4 and 6 different hooks on the front of this ad. Attach all of them to the body of the ad, okay? So the body would just be all the education information the customer needs to know to make the purchase. Don't worry about how long it gets. Just make sure it's direct and clear and all those things. And this is the long form explainer. It actually doesn't matter that it's like really that long, but the point here is you're not limiting yourself based on length. You're willing to say all the things you need to say to make this ad work, okay? And then after that, you validate it and you offer any guarantee that you're going to do. We have X amount of orders, Y amount of 5-star reviews. And here's the guarantee, 30-day money back guarantee, whatever it is. So you just make them feel fine about taking their wallet out, knowing they should be confident in the purchase. And then the offer and CTA is going to be the section where you just say if there's any special offer or anything like that and a call to action, you know what that is. Okay, so that's the basic structure of the ad. Okay, so multiple hook variations, trying to speak into that angle as clearly as possible. Maybe your first hook is something like you have oil. The reason you have oily skin is not what you think, or maybe it's the moisturizers you've used before don't solve your oily skin, and there's a scientific reason why, and I can explain it to you, or whatever, right? So you sort of drive on the desire and curiosity that you're trying to communicate about, and again, maybe you're thinking specifically of a customer who's tried other skincare products and is frustrated because they can't find the one they like, and so you're speaking to that frustration, and that's the hook. The body then explains, okay, here's why this moisturizer solves oily skin, and then you do all of that information, okay? And again, in this point, you're talking about the ingredients, you're talking about application process, you're talking about how easy it's going to be to use. You can talk about anything related to manufacturing process, shipping, anything you want to say that is unique about the product and that explains this is worth doing, right? If there's multiple, maybe you want to hear mention for the person who has combination skin or dry skin or whatever, okay? So you do all of those things and you don't worry about the length. Now, maybe let's say you have a 3-minute ad, okay? Now, here's the first idea. You have multiple hooks, one version of the ad, and then you actually deliver 2 types of the ad, okay? The first is a no edit version of it. So when a creator goes to read this, that creator reads all those hooks and then does the body, validation, and offer sections, okay? Those 3 sections below that. They read all those things, and whether they read and you then deliver those ads. Maybe they show the product, they're doing this. This is the moisturizer we use. Here's why Bamboo Earth is the best, whatever. You do all that. Her just using, in this case, would be a woman talking to the screen in a very sort of socially native way, right? Videos you've seen a million times on the internet of a person talking to a camera, showing the product, applying it here and there if they want to, those kinds of things, whatever that takes. No edits, no B-roll. That's version 1 of your ad. Now we have delivered the first version of the ad, okay? And you put that straight into the ad account. That's it. Like, that's simple. I mean, if you need to cut out some uhs and ums or something, fine. But like, you're doing literally no other editing. You're just getting that right into the ad account. Now, this assumes that you're running manual bids as the way to do this, most likely. And if you are doing that, it's the reason that's important is because then you're going to have a situation where you don't have to worry at all about Meta spending too much money on bad ads. You're not launching these in a creative testing campaign and seeing how they're going to go, and you're not spending money on them trying to test them. You're just launching them with a bid cap, launching them with a TROS target, and if Meta spends on it, great. Okay, so now you just launch those as is, and that's part of the thing here, right? If you are launching those in a manual bid setting, now you don't have to worry, like, just run them live. I have at least one client right now where a meaningful number of the ads that we run have no edits besides a person talking to the camera, and it's the best performing version of the ad. We have actually run that versus an edited version, and the person talking to the camera wins. Not all the time, but sometimes, okay? So that's version 1. Now we just made like 6 ads, okay? Something like that. If you did six hook variations. And then you take those ads now, right? But sometimes B-roll is actually really helpful in explaining a point. This is actually, I think, the good use for it. So you pass this over to your editing team and you say, here's multiple hooks, okay? Do those as is. But now make sure in this one, you have a graphic at minute or at 15 seconds in where it shows, up close on a person's face to show oily skin. Like, I don't know what it is, right? But whatever you do, and if there's a point you want to make, if you're referencing an ingredient that's important, maybe you want to cut over to some B-roll of the facility where you have that ingredient, and you're highlighting it in some way. Whatever, using B-roll to illustrate the talking points of the ad. Now you cut over, right? Now you get those ads into your design and edit process, and when you put those in your edit process, you now have created 6 more ads, okay? So now we've gotten 12 ads out of one idea just like that, okay? And those will, the edit process will take longer on those, of course, than the first one. But the first ones will go live right away, and all of them can work, okay? And I'm going to tell you right away, this is the argument for using, like my team, my ad team that does my design and edit work. They've seen this process a lot of times. They know I'm looking for multiple variations. And in fact, my video editors now know that if they are deciding between a couple of different ideas, and my graphic designers know this too, if they're like, ooh, I don't know if I should do it this way or that way, they know that my instinct is make both. Make both. We will launch both ads, especially if it is a meaningful change in, especially the first 3 seconds of the ad or something like that. And they'll just send me both. So I'll actually get extra variations back from them because they're clued into this process as well. Okay. There is simply no way that I could have built this process out with my team without help from my friends at Behind the Scenes Studio, a sister company of More Staffing. Behind the Scenes Studio is a video editing and graphic design agency service based in the Philippines where you can get access to incredibly talented designers and video editors who know and think this way already because they've worked on it on my team and actually honed their process around my process. And so they've built it that way. And you can get access to incredible talent so that you can scale up your design and edit production for your Facebook ads specifically. And they're specifically tailored around Meta ads, okay? And you can do it at a really affordable price. Go to btsstudio.co, btsstudio.co. The link is in the show notes, btsstudio.co, to look into extending your design and edit team with really highly talented, great English-speaking designers and editors in the Philippines with Behind the Scenes Studio. Variations, not edits. That's like our little mantra. Variations, not edits, okay? So that's that. Okay, now, the next thing you do is you take that and you dump it down into a 30-second explainer. The 30-second explainer, 30 seconds here is totally made up, okay? This came from a conversation I had with Jack Rubin a couple weeks ago. He was just talking about how helpful mid-form explainers have been for him, 20 to 40 seconds, he said. So I'm calling it 30 seconds for the sake of ease. I've seen the same thing with at least one client of mine, specifically with the sort of floating head green screen style approach. But all I'm doing here is taking the long-form explainer, and now I'm just condensing it. I'm going to try and get straight to the meat of it much faster, cut out any little fluff, still multiple hooks. Sometimes I'm editing down the hooks as well. And I'm just now getting another variation of the ad. And I'm also at this point starting to do some variations of formats, okay? A couple of different ways you could do this, right? The socially native mid-form explainer, as listed here on this document, that version is basically the thing I just talked about. It is the no edit. It's just talk to the camera, show the product, no B-roll at all. Okay. Now there's a second version of it, which is like the full edit, like the long form explainer, where you're cutting in B-roll, you're clipping back and forth between the person talking and B-roll. In fact, you might even at this point do a B-roll only version of it. So it's literally just to the customer feels like a voiceover. Like there's actually voiceover with captions and that's it. You could also do that with the long form explainer, by the way. So it's just B-roll the whole way. Kind of, this almost feels like the, visual sales letter type idea. So there's another variation. And then something that we're doing a lot more of is now sort of like the floating head version of this ad. And we're doing multiple versions of this as well, where it's like floating head over a still. That sometimes a creator can edit for you, including with multiple variations, where they just grab a few still images. It's just the floating head, green screen style, cap cut edit. And that, again, feels really socially native. They're going through those key points. You might do that over video as well. That maybe is getting an editor involved, doing a fuller, larger edit. Or maybe also you're doing this and also inserting some text overlays. So it's floating head, green screen, person starts talking, but as they do, there's essentially a headline on the top of the video. So there's a lot of different ways you could do this. You don't have to do all of these for every single ad you make. That's not what I'm saying. But you should be thinking, how can I take this angle and give me a few different variations of this? Now, I said 30 seconds is not magical, okay? It might be 20, it might be 40, it might even be 50. The point, though, is that it's sort of a mid-length as opposed to a longer one where you are trying to be a little direct, a little more direct, a little quicker to the point, and you're doing that. And the process, crucially, is that you start with that long version of it and you edit it down, which is way easier than going the other direction. Okay, if you go from mid-form to long form, it's harder, at least for me. Now, actually, I don't really care if you take this whole process and flip it. For some people, it might be easier for them. And if you're looking down my screen, you've seen that I'm also talking here about stills and some of those things. And maybe there's some other ways to do that. Like if that's what you're looking at and you're like, I actually like writing still headlines first and then going out from there and filling in the details. That's fine. I actually don't really care which direction you go in. I think it's easiest to start long and go narrower and go shorter. Some people might find it easier the other way, whatever. As long as you take the one angle and you turn it into multiple concepts, as far as I'm concerned, that's a win. Okay. So you do that, okay? And then out of the 30-second explainer, now you probably have another 5 to 20 videos, depending on how many you just made, okay? So now we've gone from one idea to 30 videos, let's call it, something like that, okay? 30 videos, and you can do those 30 videos, crucially, sometimes with one creator read, maybe a couple of creator reads, okay? And with very simple edits, and you can get all of them into the ad account very fast. Some of those will go live today. Some of those will go live, like the day they're recorded and just slapped together right away. Some of those will take a week to turn around from your editing team, whatever. But that is the basic idea. Okay. Now you go to design stills. Okay. At this point, when you go to stills, you're still working through the same angle. And again, this is another crucial idea. And I've got here a few different kinds of stills that I want to run. Okay. So I've got design stills, socially native stills, and then text and context stills. I'm going to talk through each of those. Okay. Design stills. What I have started to do for this, and what I mean here is like sort of your classic banner ad still image. Okay. And this is where the volume can get really crazy, because if you take those stills and you start designing them, what you start doing is running multiple lines of copy and multiple images for each of these. Okay. In fact, I should add that into this document if you're looking at it. Multiple images as well. Okay. And the reason that's important is because now you can take, like, let's say I've got sort of a UGC style photo of my moisturizer, okay, and then I've also got like my studio photos and product on white or whatever, and I'm using various ones of those. If you're going to do a more design still, you're probably using more like studio photography, that kind of thing. And what I like to do, what we've started to use a lot, is Creative OS for this, where they're going to Creative OS preloads a bunch of templates, and so you can just sort of take the idea you have scroll through some ad templates and reuse some templates and styles, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Some really good designers have made some stuff that's out there. And what Creative OS does is it actually pre-makes Figma and Canva templates, so you can like really quickly make these, and then just create a bunch of variations with multiple headlines and multiple lines of copy. Okay. Now, if you do like 3 or 5 images, let's say you do 5 different images and you do 5 different copy treatments on those, that's another 25 ads right there. And if you do size variations too, to where you're doing 1x1s and 9x16s separately, which I'm sort of mixed on the value of that, that's actually another 50. Okay. I think I just did that math right. It might be more than that, right? No, that's about right. Okay, so now you've got a bunch of those. And if you actually start doing different treatments, like different design styles, but the same basic image, so you go to Creative OS and you're like, oh, I like this Huel ad over here, right? That's great. And then I also found this Ridge ad, and I think this could work for both of those. Now you can actually take that and come up with 100 still image ads really, really fast. And so now we're up to 130 ads really quickly with one angle and one concept, basically, right? One angle, one ad idea. But now you're just doing different variations, making sure that you get the execution right. And by the way, Creative OS is a really great tool. I do not have a paid relationship with them right now. I've actually sent a DM to them just before recording this, saying, hey, we're going to talk about this. Maybe I'll create a link where there's like some kind of discount or something where people who can click through my link can get the first month off or whatever it is. And maybe I'll have an affiliate deal. Maybe I won't. Like, I actually don't even know yet, because I just actually use it. And so this is where this came from. There will be if I can get a deal for you, okay, person watching this or listening to this, check the show notes and it will be there. Okay. The show notes will have a link to this so that you can actually get access to Creative OS and try it yourself. It's really cool tool, because there's all these templates you can scroll through. Okay. So you start making these multiple variations of that, and this becomes a really good way to expand these out. Now, when I think about multiple headlines, multiple lines of copy, what I want to be clear about here is, like, so many of the times when you have an ad idea, the place it fails is at the level of execution. Like, you actually might have a decent idea, but it's hard to execute it right. And if you just make one still image, right, then, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe you did a good version of that ad. Maybe you did a bad version. Maybe your language sucked or didn't resonate the right way or whatever. So let's take our oil idea. Maybe headline A is something like, there's a reason moisturizers don't work for your oily skin. Okay, that might be too long, but whatever, go with it. I'm making it up off the top of my head. Okay, so that's maybe headline A. Headline B is this ingredient is the key to moisturizer for oily skin. Or maybe, I knowing a little bit about this, like maybe it's like oily skin ? Your moisturizer needs more oil, not less. Okay, something like that. Okay, and so now I've got 3 ads. Okay, again, bear with me here, right? I just made those up off the top of my head. Now I've got 3 ads, and I actually may have a bunch more from there. And what I want to do is go make all those variations. And then the next step from there, so I might do multiple image treatments, multiple styles. And then the next step from there is to go and actually make what I call the socially native still as well, which is another version of the same thing. This is basically now where you might go towards UGC images as well, work those in, but you take those same headlines and sort of slap them over the top of the image with sort of just like the classic Instagram text treatment, okay? Something like that. And in that respect, it is like the quote unquote social native. It's the same idea messaging wise, but now you're just sort of changing up the presentation of it. And now maybe we just made another 50 or another 100 ads. Okay. And again, very often I see design stills work. Very often I see these more socially, quote unquote, socially native stills work. And sometimes the same messaging with different formats works differently, or different imagery works differently. If you have a really good UGC, or if you need to take some, it might change meaningfully the way the customer relates to the product. It might depend on your category, whatever. But I just know it's really easy to make each version of this after you've made the first one. Once you've made the first one, making multiple variations is fast. So you go and you make those variations, and now you've got, again, another 50 or 100 ads or whatever it is. And now we're getting close to that 300 number that I put in the title of this video. So you start to do that. And again, I will, in the version of this document that is available to you publicly, I will link out as many example ads as I can. So make sure to go get that. And if I can give you example ads so you can see more of this, then they will be there for you. Okay. So you can go and have a better sense of what I'm talking about. All right. Okay. So now you take it another step. and that's to the text and context still. I call the text and context still what Barry Hott refers to as the ugly ad. Now he means that term broader than this, and so that's why I have like a specific name for it. I think he has an idea of ugly ads being much broader than this. The text and context still, I mean the text is in the context of the image. The classic example of this is the Post-it note ad. These work, they're effective, and once you've written the headlines for your design stills and your social native stills, go the next step and make it into a text and context still. Get somebody to write on whatever. And if it has to be a Post-it note, fine. But a Post-it note is not magical. Use a letterboard, use chalk on the ground. The world is your canvas. Like, just go wherever you can, arrange rocks in the sand on the beach. Anything you can do, right, to do this. That gets the words into the context of the image can be effective. And you might need shorter, punchier headlines. You might need to condense them down more. But this now creates another bunch of variations of this same angle, okay? So now we've taken one angle, we started long form video, mid form video, gone down to design stills, less designed, like more sort of social native stills, text and context stills. And we've got probably, like I said, something like 300 ads. And now there's one more step that you can take. Not every brand is going to do this next step, but you can, and it can be extremely effective. And that's to actually go take the same concept and build it into a lander. Now, if you're going to do this, it actually might be best to do this earlier in the process, okay? To build your lander when you're building the long form explainer, because that's when you're really sort of in the information rich stage. And again, sometimes the act of writing lander copy or something can help inspire still image copy or whatever else, but make the lander as well. Okay. So when you do that, the lander can also do this same messaging. Okay. And if you want to know how I created an advertising relationship with FERMAT, it is like this, because FERMAT is the actual best tool to do this. It is just by far the most robust and fastest and easiest to use. And I was working on it with a client who was building these hyper-specific angles and trying to do it at scale. And we realized we wanted to go from ad down through lander, in fact, down through PDP, in fact, down through cart with more precision. And so we started to working with FERMAT to do this. This was a 50% spend increase for that client once we started adding FERMAT. And it's because, their tagline is right, which is like, you create funnels the same way you create ads. And it's this basic idea. You're saying, if you have this one angle, right, you can imagine, like for this oily skin example, you maybe want to make a whole information rich page all about why an oily moisturizer is best for oily skin, right? And I might be saying that a little bit wrong, but the way that your skin interacts with oil on your face and why your skin produces oil on your face and etc. Like, there could be a whole bunch of information about that. And then you can like go down to the PDP level and pull specific reviews with FERMAT, so that like you take a product that may have dry skin and combination skin and oily skin customers all using it, and you can surface the best reviews specifically for your oily skin funnel. Okay. And so it's like all the oily skin women who have used this and it's been helpful to them, and you stack those reviews there, and imagery and copy, all hammering that all the way through from lander to PDP and all those things. That is how I got started working with FERMAT. And I think this is another step to where you can actually do this at the most scale. If you also want your creative to have tighter funnels, tighter messaging all the way through from ad all the way through the cart, you should get started with FERMAT. It is, as I said, the best tool for this. It is really extraordinary. Go to fermatcommerce.com/AF, fermatcommerce.com/AF to go check it out. It really is awesome. On top of all the things I talked about already, it is the fastest loading pages that I've ever seen, like for landing pages ever on the internet. It's crazy. Like, the customer experience, user experience is so good. Do a demo and make them show you that. It's really sweet. And then also, there's all kinds of ways that currently the tool makes it really easy to build highly specific offers in Shopify. I'll give you an example. For one client of mine recently that's using it, we actually changed the name of the product to include the specific benefit that we are messaging in this particular funnel, so that just there's like one more little touch point to the customer to know that this was the right product for them, and actually change that there. Now, you could do that without having to go into Shopify and change the name of the product or create a new product in Shopify or whatever. There's just virtual ways to do that in FERMAT. So it's really slick. Go check it out. fermatcommerce.com/AF. Get started with FERMAT today. Again, we are doing this right now with my clients, where we're pursuing this approach to things because we think there's a chance to do this at much more scale than we possibly could have before, and message more complete. Okay. And again, crucially, you do it all at the same time. You build the whole thing at the same time. And then From there, you just rinse and repeat. If you agree with me that the best way to generate the most volume in your ad account at the most efficiency is to speak specifically to people. So you actually narrow your audience of your ad, so your angle gets narrower and more specific. But then to do that over and over and over with more and more audiences, okay? So you stack highly specific audiences on top of each other, and that's the way you reach scale, okay? Then you actually need to find a way to have your creative and landing page process accomplish that. And that is what I'm trying to lay out for you here. So, like I said, I'm going to try to give you as many resources as I possibly can muster. Go to the show notes. It will be the top thing in the show notes of this episode. Click on that and go get this document for yourself so that you can go do it yourself. And then tell me how it goes. Tell me how I can extend it even further. Tell me how we can make it more. There's a bunch of things that we can do to, that you can do to smooth out this process on the design and production side. It's very easy to see where AI might play into this process, right? For some of you really AI forward people, it's like, nope, there's no question about that. So there's a bunch of things you can do from the actual design and edit process there. For me, I'm working with behind the scenes studio for my design and edit team to go create this stuff at scale, but that is the basic way you do it. I think you will find real success taking one angle, generating lots of ads, and then winning at scale. All right, I'm building this process out internally at AJF Growth even more all the time. And my plan for public-facing content is to just share it with you every time we get more of it. So make sure to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to not miss out. If this was a helpful episode to you, to get more of it as it comes down the pipe. I've also thought about packaging a bunch of it together into a course or something like that so that you really had it all in one place with examples, clear resources, deep notes, all the things you need to be successful doing this. So just subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. That should be the way that you don't miss that. You can also go to ajfgrowth.com, sign up for my email list there. There's a bunch of resources you'll already get that are free, that are awesome, that I use all the time. And if you sign up for my email list there, and certainly if I develop more and more of this kind of stuff, I will send it out as well to there. Reach out to me on Twitter at Andrew J. Ferris. I'd love to hear from you there publicly. Tell me why I'm wrong about any of this. Let's start an argument in public so that people can learn from it. Or, if there's a question, that's fine too. All right, thanks so much for watching and listening. I'll talk to you soon.